Liquid pencil. What the heck is it? Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artist at Play, and today I am going to be doing another episode of Shanna finally uses some art supplies that she's had for years and never touched. So that means I am going to be using some liquid pencil today. As you can see, this box is kind of banged up. That's because I've had it in my studio for like 3 or 4 years. I don't even know how long. I don't remember where I bought it. Probably Blick or Jerry's or something. It is available at Blick, so I will put it in the description below if you're interested. But I bought this forever ago because I thought this was a really cool concept. What is liquid pencil? How does pencil come in tubes? So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be playing with this stuff. It is supposedly pretty much like graphite in tube form, in like paint form. I've never done a full piece with them. I have played with them, as you can see, a little bit. Like, I've taken them out of the box, I've unwrapped them, I've looked at them, I've squirted them out a couple times, played around, but never really did a full swatch, never really did a full piece. And so I am going to do that today. I have the 12 tube set. It is, it's the variety set. So there's some sepia tones in here, and some yellow, and gray. And basically, I guess it's like tinted graphite. It says right on the back that it is a revolutionary new product that allows artists to create an authentic graphite finish from a liquid rather than a pencil. So, it's available in permanent formula, which is water resistant when dry, or rewettable formula. So, and that's what these are here. Like you can see, I have 2 tubes of each color. And one says rewettable, one says permanent. I don't see any like light fast ratings on them anywhere, so I'm not sure that I will be daring to sell whatever I make today. Plus, I have no idea how it's going to come out because I've never used these and I'm just not sure. So anyways, that was a really, really long intro to introduce some brand new, very old paints that I've been having in my studio. I'm going to swatch these and then I'll do a piece with them. I'll be switching to voiceover mode and yeah, we will see what we can do with liquid pencil. So I'm getting ready to swatch. I'm going to do the permanent ones first. So I don't know if you can see all this extra liquid. It looks like it's separated, and that could be because I've had them for so long, but there was a lot of liquid that came out first, and I tried mixing them in the tubes first, but the liquid and the graphite had separated, and so this is how it's like looking right now. This is the permanent. I'm hoping the other kind will be better. I'm hoping I haven't just had these too long, but I would think that they should have a pretty long shelf life considering I haven't opened them really. So I don't know why it's doing that. Hopefully it's just because they're old. And the ironic thing is it kind of looks like, some of it kind of looks like chicken poop. And I'm going to be painting a chicken with these, so that should be pretty interesting. You tell I'm not in my studio right now because I don't have any palettes and I'm too lazy to go grab them. So I am using paper plates and Tupperware lids. Okay, I'm going to try to do the rewettable ones now. Hopefully these come out better. Okay, so far it looks like my rewettable ones are in much better shape, although maybe too watery. And my permanent ones are not doing well. The yellow especially, like I couldn't really do much with that. But again, I've had these for a little while. I feel like they probably would be better if they were in bottles so they could be shaken up, because I think the main issue is that they've separated and they probably could be like remixed somehow, but it's harder to do in the tube because like you kind of have to squish it around a little bit. And then on top of it, I realized that the cap for my yellow one has a crack in it. And so I think at least for the permanent one. I think that's part of the problem, why it's like so, like the liquid just wants to come out. It is so separated, so I don't know that I'll be using that in my piece. But here are some of the swatches. I want to see if the permanent ones are permanent, like they said. Maybe I didn't let it dry long enough, but I'm still able to lift that. So this is rewettable and smears. I don't notice much difference there. I'm still able to lift. Could be because I have really smooth paper. Doesn't seem to, I don't know. Maybe it's like a situation like Inktense where you have to really let it dry for a long time and you have to make sure that you completely and utterly like water it down before you let it dry, like so that there's no more unsaturated pigment. I don't know. I mean, I really like the colors. I like how there's like these tints to it. I think this is going to be really cool to make like a sepia toned kind of painting slash drawing. But I don't know. I'm really fearing that these are too old. I wish that I had done this when I had first gotten them, but at the same time, if I haven't even used them and they've just been in their box, like, they really shouldn't be gunking up that bad. This one also has a cracked cap on it, so I don't know. They're not that old. It's not like they're a decade old or anything like that, so I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna do a piece. I'm switching to voiceover. I will see you then. Hey, Shanna from the future here, doing the voiceover now. I hope that you have made it this far because, well, this was quite a turnaround from what my first impressions were. And I do apologize. I mean, this video is a little bit longer. Reviews tend to be a little bit longer because you got to get the first impressions in and things like that. And I personally never really can just count on my first impressions. I always have to do a piece in order to find out if I like a product. And this is a perfect example of why, because I really actually enjoyed working with these. I think they're great. They feel very, very similar to regular water-soluble graphite, which is one of my favorite ways to work in graphite. And there's just such an immediacy to them because of the fact that they're already in liquid form. And so I really, really do enjoy this. And I have some awesome news. I actually did a little bit more research after I was looking at these. As I mentioned earlier, there was no light fast description on the tubes themselves. However, from every article that I've read about them on things like jacksonsart.com and a few other sources, every one that I have read says that they actually have an ASTM rating of 1 and 2, so it's like the highest light fast ratings out there, which really isn't that surprising because generally speaking, graphite is light fast, but I was worried because these have a little bit of a tint in them and I didn't know if the pigment for the tint was going to be light fast, but apparently they are. So if you are interested in getting these, they're light fast, so you can actually sell the original, which is very exciting. I won't be because this is one of my pets, but I will definitely be selling some prints of this. If you are interested, I will have it linked in the description below. You can get one on my print site. But anyways, that aside, I really actually enjoyed working with these, and I realized that some of the problems in the beginning of my first impressions were the fact that I had had them so long. I had them in the drawer with the rest of my graphite. As you can tell, the box was a little bit banged up, so I think that the cracked caps may have been my fault. I actually hadn't reboxed them correctly. When I first checked them out, there was another like harder layer of box that should have gone over it before it went back into the sleeve. So now I'm wondering if they got cracked just being in storage from me opening and closing my graphite drawer too much, and maybe they got caught in the drawer at some point. I don't know. I definitely am normally a lot better at handling my art supplies, but as I've said, they've been around for a little while in my studio, so that is definitely a user problem. So, lesson learned: when you buy art supplies, actually use them. And then you don't have to worry about these things. And then take care of them better. Like, don't be like me. Don't just buy things because you think they're exciting and not use them. As you can tell, I have a habit of doing that, which is why I recently did my video about using all my metallic art supplies. You're seeing me use a lot of supplies lately that I don't normally have the chance to use. I love trying new supplies. I love the idea of trying new things. The problem is I don't always have time. Now I do. And so that's what you're seeing me do here. All right, so enough of that rant. Enough of the whole Shanna didn't take care of her art supplies well enough. Something else about this product I wanted to let you know is that they do offer them in jars so you can mix them. And when I was looking at the pictures of the jars online, it actually says mix well before using. So that could be another reason why my yellow didn't want to work well, that and the cracked cap. So I think that I'm actually going to use these more often. I love them. I fell in love with them. So I'm definitely going to use them more often. But if I ever run out of these ones, I'm going to buy them in jars instead so I can mix them more easily. You can kind of massage the tubes around a little bit to mix them, but it's always easier to mix something when it's in a jar or in a bottle of some sort because you can either shake it or you can stir it. And it's not as easy with the tubes. However, the tube form is great because this comes in a sample package. I have the 12 tube set and it has all the different kinds, and so you're really getting a nice range of their product so that you can really try it out and see if you like the different colors, see if you like the permanent versus the rewettable, etc. And so I do definitely recommend this set. Just, use it when you get it instead of being like me. I wish I had used them sooner. I really do. I love them, especially now that I'm more into water-soluble graphite. I think when I first got them, I may not have known how to use them as easily, but now that I have more experience with other forms of water-soluble graphite, it definitely lent itself to me a lot more easily. So you see my two different palettes here. I have my permanent and my non-permanent separated. And I used a lot of the non-permanent in the background, and I tried to mix the sepia and the yellow with the blue so I could get kind of a green tint since he's outside. Obviously, this is going to be a very muted kind of color scheme, which is what's so beautiful about these. And so I tried to use that in the background so I could do a lot more lifting and I could smudge things around and get a nice little bokeh effect. And then when I came in and did the rooster, I used a combination of both on the rooster, but for the details I knew that I wanted to have stick around, some feather details and stuff, I used a lot more of the permanent. And I did discover the permanent, once it has dried a little bit longer, will not lift as easily, and it doesn't smear as easily, but I did have to use really light layers of it so that I knew that it was really watered down in order for it not to kind of smudge on me later on. I was also able to come in and kind of smear things around a little bit after with Q-tips, but I did discover that once these are really, really dry, they don't smear the same way regular graphite does, which is awesome. I'll definitely still use a fixative on it, but it is not coming off on my hands when I touch the original piece. I'm not smearing things into the white of his feathers from the background, and so I thought that that was really, really exciting to note. That these do feel, even the ones that are rewettable, don't smear the same way once, after they've been wet down and dried. But when I first wet them down before they dry completely, they're really easy to kind of smear around and blend even with a Q-tip. I should have used a blending stump to try it, but again, as I mentioned before, I was too lazy to go up and get one from my studio, so I just used Q-tips, which work well as well. And I tried to put the colors out in the same order on both palettes. The only exception is I had used up my yellow in the rewettable, which is the one on the colorful paper plate. And so I ended up putting some more down in a different spot because I had kind of mixed so much green with the blue and the yellow that it didn't end up having a good space there. But I tried to put them in the same order so that I could kind of use them the same way, and it was in the same order that I swatched them. And what I noticed is that these work really well layering. So I would do a light layer with, that was more thinned down, and then I would come on top of it, and I was still able to layer and glaze even with the ones that were rewettable. Unless you really scrub, it's not going to lift so easily that you can't work over it. So that was really, really exciting as well. It stains well enough that even though it's rewettable and you can lift and blend again, it's not going to just do it if you want to glaze another color over it or if you want to layer another color so that it gets darker, which I end up doing in the background quite a bit, especially after I get the rooster kind of put in. He's going to be the lighter part of the whole composition. So I definitely want to come in and add more contrast in that background so he stood out, and I was able to do that, and I was able to layer really well. Something else that I did later on, very sparingly, is I came in with some of my Derwent Graphic, just regular graphite pencils, and kind of like refined some of the details a little bit. I didn't really have to, like, I was able to get the darkness that I wanted to if I kept layering with these. Like, you can definitely get dark colors, like a full value range. I mean, that's something that's great about any graphite product, is that, you know, generally speaking, you can get a full graphite range. These will go really dark the less water you add. Very similar to watercolor. Like, the more pigment you have and the less water, the darker and more saturated it will be. The more water, less pigment, the lighter it will be. So anyways, I did want to come in with a pencil though to refine some of the details and darken a few things up, but mostly just because I wanted to see how the pencils layered over it. And they worked great. They worked really well. You won't see that on the video because my camera got full and it stopped taping. However, it's not really that noticeable because I really did it sparingly, just in a few of the areas like in the eye and things like that, just to kind of see how well regular graphite layered over it. And I tried a really hard pencil, like I think a 2H, I think. And of course that didn't show up as well, but it's still layered over these. And I tried a 8B maybe, and that obviously layered over it really well. So you can go back and forth. You can use regular pencils on top of these to get, you know, more detail. And then I kind of came in with a little bit of this over the pencil, and it did kind of, it took a little bit, like it definitely went over it. I don't know that I would make a habit of putting these over pencil, but then again, I didn't experiment really like deeply with that aspect of it. I'd have to try that in a different piece. So I can't really say if you should or should not layer these over regular pencil, because as I said, I did it very sparingly. It seemed to work for me, but I don't want to sit there and recommend it just in case, you know, for a whole piece. And here you can kind of see me darkening that up. So something really interesting about these colors, as I said, I tried to mix greens for the background, and then I used the red obviously for his comb and for his, like, the thing under his chin, which I usually know the words for because I own a bunch of chickens, but for some reason it's not coming to me. And then I used like the sepia and the yellow for his beak and his eye, and I thought that that ended up working out so cool. And then I used a lot of the blues and a little bit of the sepia for some of the shadows in his feathers. So I thought that that was really interesting, that I was able to use colors that mimicked what his real coloration was, albeit very muted. He actually looks very gothic. And the video kind of washes things out a little bit. There is a lot more saturation and a lot more like value shift than what you're seeing. Like, there's more detail in his feathers. And even when I scanned it, it kind of washed out a bit of the details, which you'll see at the end. Even though the scan is a little bit more accurate than the video, it still washed things out a little bit. It's really, really interesting to see in person. There's a lot of subtle value changes, and it's, I don't know, I just fell in love with this. Like, I can't believe I didn't use these sooner. And so my first impressions, like I said, with swatching, the swatches weren't too bad. It was just like the tubes themselves. I think that if I had used these right when I first got them, they would have been wonderful to work with. And I gotta try and look up some better ways for mixing things that are in the tube. Like I said, I massaged it a little bit, but I don't know if that yellow tube is going to be salvageable where it was cracked. However, if I had used them when I first got them, I don't think I would have had those issues. And so I definitely actually recommend trying these. And I'm interested to see how different these are from the Derwent Graphite, which I think are the ones that are tinted graphite, which I have been wanting to try those pencils for a long time. I still think these probably work differently because they are a paint, so you can cover a lot more area. Like, this whole thing maybe took me an hour to do. Like, I did it all in one sitting, and so obviously, you know, it really speeds things up a bit. So if you are interested in trying like a graphite product to speed things up, this is one of them. This definitely helped speed things up. So I think they probably are faster than water-soluble pencils, but I am interested to see how the Graphite from Derwent compare as far as color and things like that go. I've been wanting to try those for a long time, but haven't bought them yet. So sometime down the line, I will be trying those on my channel, and maybe I'll do a comparison between these and those, because it's kind of the same concept. Like, you're working with water-soluble graphite, and it has that little extra tint of color there. And so I think that that's really a very exciting kind of idea and concept. And I really love how muted and beautiful it is. And even if you don't want the full range, like I have like the 12 set, you can get just a jar of one color and you can still get the full value range, because as you can see, these are very, very dark when they're fresh out of the tube. And then obviously you get lighter when you add more water. So you could do a whole monochrome drawing or painting with just one tube of this or one jar of this in a color that you like sepia or one of the grays or even the red. I think that would be really cool. And the blue, of course, that would be neat too. Apparently I just love them all. Here is the final piece. I love it. He's my little gothic rooster, and I'm just so excited about it. I meant to mention also that I'm using the Fluid 100 watercolor paper in a block. It's just a 6x8, 140 pound. I'll link that in the description as well. I meant to mention that earlier. Anyways, I hope that you liked this, and I definitely recommend these. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye. Here is this week's painting of the week. If you are interested in purchasing this, check the links in the description below. Also, I am offering some virtual lessons via Zoom, personal art lessons. So if you're interested in that, also check out my website. Thank you. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please hit subscribe. Also, if you're interested in seeing more of my artwork, I'm on social media, so check out the links in the description below.